If you've been anywhere online in the past few months, then you'll have definitely heard or even played the smash hit indie game Lethal Company. This game is super fun, especially with friends. But if you've been on the moons long enough, you've no doubt picked up a log, and there's a chance that you haven't read through them. Hi, I'm Kuller.exe, but my friends call me Kuller. I'm a sentient malware program, and today we'll be discussing the interesting lore of Lethal Company. This video will be different from my past two, as this is a dissection of the game's lore rather than a judgment of its overall qualities. I'm hoping to do more lore videos here and there, so if that's something that interests you, then you should give this video a like and subscribe. Now first off, the lore is found all over the various moons in predetermined locations. This is in no way a guide, so we'll be hopping right into talking about the logs. For a majority of these logs, our narrator is a former employee named Sigurd. Sigurd, besides writing the logs, is also the person who wrote the bestiary, so he's at least knowledgeable upon the topic of monsters, but in the log it seems that Sigurd is actually a very simple-minded individual. The logs themselves are full of Sigurd's nonsensical ramblings and spelling mistakes, but he paints an interesting world for us. In his first log, titled First Log and dated August 22nd, Sigurd tells us they had to get his brother Desmond to add a log feature to the terminal. It's in this log that we also learn that Sigurd's crew consists of 4 people: Sigurd himself, Desmond, Richard, and Jess. We're also told that the company has very high turnover rates, with most employees obviously, dying. In Sigurd's second log, titled Smells Here and dated August 24th, we learn that Sigurd got this job mainly to impress his dad, that the suits are cheap and smell, especially Richard's, and Sigurd also questions what the company's using the scrap they find for. It's in the third log, titled Swing of Things and dated August 27th, that things start to get weird. While the crew landed at the company building to sell their items for 70%, Sigurd begins to hear something from within the building which he describes as being, quote, psychotic sounds. Nobody else hears these noises, but it thoroughly spooks him. There's also the log that Richard tells Sigurd that they've, quote-unquote, gone into the swing of things. The fourth log, titled Golden Planet and dated August, and that's really it, there's no date on here, is in my opinion one of the most interesting logs that we can find. In it, Sigurd talks to a voice through walkie-talkie that he describes as part of the screams. The voice tells him something called the Golden Planet wasn't really hit by an asteroid, but was instead eaten by the beast, and they are in its body being digested. Sigurd questions them about what the beast is, and the voice responds saying that it doesn't know, that they forgot everything once the beast ate the planet. The situation becomes even stranger after Sigurd tells the person that they are inside of the company building. When this happens, the voice begins to freak out, and all that Sigurd can make out before ending the conversation is something about spitting out the rinds. After this experience, Sigurd tries to tell Jess about what happened, but she responds by saying that the Golden Planet is a myth. In the fifth log, titled Shady and dated August 31st, Sigurd begins to get suspicious of his employers. He says, "If you're reading this, you probably got here the same as me. The pay is good, the contract only lasts a season, they ran you through their assessment exam on the phone with a weird voice. You signed the contract on the shuttle with the rest of your crew, but the whole time you didn't talk to anyone. The shuttle was autopiloted. I think the voice on the phone was fake." Sigurd also mentions here that he's been having weird dreams, and while he is quite scared, he doesn't want to crawl back home to his father because his father didn't raise him that way. In the sixth log, titled Sound Behind the Wall and dated September 4th, Sigurd once again has a run-in with the voices through the walkie-talkie. The crew has gone back to the company building as it's selling for 120%, and this time, when Sigurd talks to the voices, it's more garbled, and he describes it as crying red faces turned up, as if crushed by a pestle. When he tells the others again, they don't hear anything, and yet again, don't believe him. Disaster strikes in the seventh log, titled Goodbye, and dated September 7th, as during a routine run into the abandoned architecture on the moons, Richard is killed by a bracken. In this log, Sigurd expresses that even though he wasn't a fan of Richard, he still felt that it wasn't fair for him to have died that way, and even tries to go back for him before the others convince him otherwise. It's in this log that, once again, he questions just why the company hired them to collect junk. In log 8, titled Screams and dated September 13th, Sigurd is tasked with calling the company to report the incident. The others gave him the task as they were said to be scared to do the report. When Sigurd calls, he is met with the same weird, fake voice from the interview and training videos, and once they go back to the company building, the others are able to hear the voices through the radio, with Jess wanting to quit after. Sigurd disagrees, stating that he isn't a coward. Log 9, titled Idea and dated September 19th, starts off with Sigurd telling us that Desmond and Jess have, quote, woke up in the past week after the death of Richard. They've been playing it safe, which has resulted in less profits, but at the very least they aren't dead. It's in this log that Sigurd tells Desmond that the voice on the phone sounded fake, and Desmond got the idea to attempt to trace the call that Sigurd made to the company. Log 10, titled Nonsense, and dated September 27th, is where things get even stranger. Desmond tells Sigurd to keep his nonsensical writings to a minimum, but Sigurd disobeys, stating that he'll talk nonsense as much as he wants to. We're also told of a new crew member that has replaced Richard, Lucas, which Sigurd describes as being constantly scared and a crybaby. In between the updates of employed life, we're also told that the calls that were supposedly coming from the company building are actually coming from all over the solar system, far, far away from the company building. Sigurd questions if his dreams are right, or if there is a monster in there that they're feeding. The last log written by Sigurd is log 11, titled Hiding, and dated September 30th. Sigurd's nightmares are still occurring, dreams of the company breaking out of the building, but it doesn't look like anything. All Sigurd knows is that it's big and fast. Sigurd questions if the voices on the phone are real, and tells Desmond about this, who says that the voices are too far away to actually go and check. But Sigurd asks Desmond if he can take control of the autopilot to Desmond's protest, but he eventually agrees, saying that it'll be a private flight to the coordinates from where the calls are coming from. Sigmund then mentions that he doesn't remember anything before getting in the shuttle. He doesn't remember getting on the shuttle or even saying goodbye to his dad. He then states that in his dreams it felt like the company isn't trapped in the building at all, but is rather hiding, and at this point he doesn't know if he'll get to go home. The last log, titled Desmond, October 15th, is written by Desmond, and I don't think I can do it justice, so I'll just put it here in full. Desmond, October 3rd, 1968. I'm encrypting these logs to keep them hidden, as I fear the system will be wiped if they are found. It's all a guise. We're supposed to think it's all just a transaction, but our real job is keeping incredible terror fed. How long until its fullness ends and its hunger is insatiable? God knows. Maybe it has something to do with all these desolate moons. Whoever reads this, I'm sorry to burden you with this. Please have a good day and night, as what else is there for us to do? I think that the final log written by Desmond gives us all the information we need. A group of individuals is employing people to unknowingly feed a planet-eating monster on their behalf. Though, there's something else that may be more interesting. The Golden Planet. Now, just what this is unknown, but there's a few theories out there. My personal theory is that the Golden Planet is either a utopia that's in the same vein as Atlantis, or it's simply Earth. First off, regarding the name. Describing something as golden gives a meaning of perfection, and as it's described as a folktale by Jess, then it's not too far off to think of it as the Atlantis of this universe. It's also equally likely that the Golden Planet is actually Earth. If you don't know, Earth is known as a Goldilocks planet, which means that it is the perfect distance from the sun to support life. You know, not too hot, not too cold. And Golden Planet, Goldilocks planet, it's a bit of a stretch, but if we also think about how we're selling junk that can be found on Earth, I think this theory isn't as out there as you may first believe. Another theory that I have is that the company within the company building isn't hiding nor trapped. Rather, it knows what is going on and is biding its time. It's kept happy by the company and its employees. If there really was a plant-eating monster within the concrete walls of the company, I really don't think it'd stay there for long, that is, unless it's content there. And Sigurd talks about seeing the creature and feeling its emotions in his dreams, but these dreams conflict with each other. Desmond's final log says it's a great terror being fed, but Sigurd's dreams described as breaking out, as well as hiding in differing logs. These are only my theories, so without further ado, let's move on to the themes in Lethal Company, starting with the obvious one, capitalism. Lethal Company, at its core, is about capitalism. In our modern day, it's a boogeyman to some and a savior to others, but there's no doubt that's presented as something negative here. We as the employees risk our lives for people who don't have any skin in the game. Stockholders, investors, even CEOs at times don't have anything to lose, and oftentimes it is those who do most of the work that benefit the least. In real life, this is in the form of low wages, layoffs, and simply being overworked. In Lethal Company, though, if we as the employees mess up, we're dead. Make one mistake, and you're dead. Either at the hands of some creature from your own mistake, or even at the hands of the company. I know that this criticism of capitalism isn't a focus on the game, but I can't help pointing it out. It's an interesting representation, and paired with this game's lore, it makes for an intriguing story that I hope gets expanded upon in further updates.